Hey folks, Comic Book Man here. Welcome once again to my video outhouse. It's time for Week in Review, the Shipshape edition. And this is the Week in Review for March the 30th, 2011. This is where I look back at some of this week's past shipping, the highlights, the lowlights, and we talk a little bit about what happened this week
and the
comic book shipping. And we're going to start off this week with Marvel. Now, there are 112 total comics that shipped last week. Marvel was #1 shipper. They had 25 books that they shipped out last week.
Way to ship, Marvel.
And Age of X Universe, Age of X Universe, God, #1 of 2 shipped out this week. This has got 2 stories in it. One is for the Avengers, one is for Spider-Man. Now, if you've been reading Age of X, you know that it takes place not in Earth 616. It takes place on yet another one of Marvel's 89,000 mini Earths out there, the vast majority of which have no designation and no assignment to them, so they can just do these forever, virtually, and never have to worry about continuity problems. The first story in this issue is written by Simon Spurrier and drawn by Coy Fam and Tom Palmer. Tom Palmer, that's right, the Tom Palmer. It features the Avengers. This is a paranoid Avengers group from hell, and they are chasing down the few remaining X-Men. Captain America is sort of a dork. Tony Stark is a zombie in armor. Hulk is absolutely insane with a hatred of mutants. The Invisible Woman is the only one who's halfway normal, and she's carrying around a rock of Gibraltar of guilt because she turned in the rest of the Fantastic Four to the government. And she's working with the government now in order to protect the kids. She was afraid that terrible things would happen to Franklin. Anyway, it's a fun little book. It's a dystopic 9/11 world with a crazy government that's just hell-bent intent on hunting down Al-Qaeda-type mutants. If you can't figure out the parallels between what's going on politically in this country right now, Al-Qaeda, Marvel's mutants, and this story, you need to go back to remedial politics. It is so blatantly obvious it's not even funny. The second story is a little piffle of a story with Spider-Man. Basically, it's Spidey and Mary Jane are on the run. They want to get the hell out of the country because anybody who has altered DNA, not just mutants, but anybody with altered DNA, if you're not registered, where have I heard that before? If you're not registered with the government, okay, they're going to come and get you and lock you up and put you away. Well, Spidey manages to get Mary Jane out of the country, but in order to do it, he winds up getting captured. And that's what happens to Spider-Man in this universe. He's a capture of the government. Anyway, this came out this week, and it's an okay read from Marvel. I wouldn't go across the street for it, but if you like the X-Men, you want to pick this up because it's pretty good. Also this week, Amazing Spider-Man, number 657, Torch Song. As we all know, Spidey's joined the FF. In the Amazing Spider-Man, that has to be reflected someplace, because if he's going to be spending a lot of his time with the FF, well, you got to talk about it in his comic, and that's what this is about. Dan Slott's the writer of this book. This has got 4 artists because it's got essentially 4 different stories in it. Marcos Martin, Nina Palatti, Ty Templeton, and Stefano Castellini are the artists in this book. And what it is Spidey shows up at the Fantastic Four's building, and he sits down and has a coffee with Reed and Sue and Ben, and they talk about Johnny and how bad they feel about the death, and they have memories about all the wonderful times that the 4 of them had together, untold stories which you've never seen before, and they're little 9-page snippets that they throw in that weed in and out throughout the main narrative. Spidey's place is firmly rooted in the FF in this series. This comes off more as a contractual obligation story than anything else. It's not that it's bad, it's just there's nothing very important about this. You will live quite well and get through your life as a Marvel fan, never having picked up this book, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's an okay read. It's just not a mandatory read. Finally, this week, I want to concentrate on this. This is Marvel's big book, Captain America number 616. This is the 70th anniversary of the first appearance of Captain America. It's got 8 stories in it. It's got 12 writers and artists that work on this book. In it, you have a story about Bucky in the Russian Gulag, which is your contemporary story, what's going on with Bucky. Since the trial, he's sent to Russia. He's living in a Gulag now, and the Avengers come in once a month to check, just like the Red Cross, to make sure that he's not being mistreated. Could he possibly be mistreated in a Russian gulag? Steve Rogers, another story in this, Steve Rogers has a big costume debate with himself. I don't want to put on the costume, but I got to put on the costume. What do I have to put on the costume? You have a movie coming out. That's why you have to put on the costume. But we have to talk about it until then. There's a story in here by Howard Chaykin about a painting that Cap had done back in the early 40s and why that is significant today. You have the rebirth of Adolf Hitler in this. You heard me right, the rebirth of Adolf Hitler.
He's a good guy this time.
You've got you've got but it is a morality story where you have to make decisions about whether or not what a person is today is actually what they were before, and will your future be predestined by your DNA?
Determined all the time.
There's Captain Britain, Captain America story in here where they're defending a small town all by themselves against a platoon of Nazis with no one else to help them. And a couple other stories. This is a great little anniversary package. It's been 60 years, like I said, since Cap's first appearance. And the most important thing you need to know about this is if DC's Holy Trinity is Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, okay, and Superman is considered the very first superhero at the beginning of the DC universe. Over on the Marvel side, your Trinity is Human Torch, Submariner, and Captain America. And of those three, Captain America far outshines the other two. He always has. So essentially, Captain America is the beginning of the Marvel Universe. And of course, the Marvel Universe, we all know, is designated by number 616, and that's what this is.
Appropriate.
Cap 616. You know, I read this last night while Ken Burns' Civil War was on PBS. I would recommend all of you, if Ken Burns' Civil War is on and you've got this book, sit down and read this book while Ken Burns' Civil War is on in the background. It'll make a hell of an experience for you. It really will. The music in that series works perfectly with every story in this book. This is well worth picking up. One last fan geek thing that I do want to go over with this book before we get out of here. There are two people who worked at another company that never ever worked on Captain America, and they show up posthumously in this book. Oh, and you know, I should have tagged this ahead of time. Yeah, I should have marked it ahead of time. And this really floored me when I first saw it.
I'll show it in post.
We'll show it in post. We'll show it in post.
Just say it.
But it's Kurt Swan and Jim Aparo, two people who never worked at Marvel, never did a lick of work at Marvel, and they got Captain America pinups in this, which
Batman.
are damn cool.
They did Batman, which is they're Captain America.
Also from Marvel this week, you had Amazing Spider-Man. This is a one-shot that was a freebie that was given away in the New York Times. It's actually not a bad little story, but it's a piffle. It's a giveaway from the New York Times. But Marvel's packaging it and selling it to you for only $3.99 this week.
Cover.
The wrap-up of the Avengers storyline with the Infinity Gems shipped this week. Yet another Captain America one-shot shipped this week. Captain America and the Secret Avengers. Oh, look at this! Ultimate X #4 shipped this week.
Yeah, it's a good book.
It's a damn good book for a quarterly.
Yeah.
It's a damn good book. Shipped this week. Hey, look what else kicked this week.
What the?
Kick-Ass shipped this week,
That isn't
#2.
even right. That's just the cover.
Another one-shot because we have an X-Men movie coming up. Cyclops shipped this week. And finally, two covers. This book is dead. If you've been reading Deadpool Team Up, Marvel has mercifully put it into the grave. It is done. It is finished. It is out of here. Over on the DC side, Action Comics number 899 shipped. Black Ring Part 10, written by Paul Cornell, drawn by Jesus Marino. No, not Jesus. Jesus Marino. This is the penultimate issue to issue number 900, which is rocketing our way. It's going to be like $20 and 9,000 pages or something. I don't know. 900 pages, $30 or something. I don't know. Anyway, Brainiac reveals himself as the prime mover and shaker behind everything that's been going on over the last 10 issues. Luthor and Brainiac have a big fight. The great thing about Brainiac is he might have a 12th level intelligence, and Luthor might be some sort of knuckle-dragging ape compared to Brainiac's intelligence, but you know what? He ain't nearly as cunning as Luthor is. Not by a long shot. Luthor just hustles the hell out of him in this thing. Like I said, this sets everything up, and by the end of this book, Lex Luthor is omnipotent. Swear to God, Lex Luthor is omnipotent by the end of this book, and that gets you into number 900. Also this week from DC, Wonder Woman, number 609. We're going to talk about Wonder Woman, and we can review the costume for the series they're doing right now. But this comic was Odyssey Part 9. This, of course, is the ongoing saga of J. Michael Straczynski and Phil Hessler, the revamp of Wonder Woman, drawn by Don Kramer. This has Dr. Psycho, little guy, squirrely eyes, goofy looking. Take Wonder Woman through a magical mystery tour of all of her many, 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 many lives. And I'm not just talking parallel Earths here. I'm talking about stuff you've never seen before. Once upon a time, Wonder Woman had a life where she was a pirate. Once upon a time, Wonder Woman had a life where she was a Nubian slave girl. Once upon a time, Wonder Woman had a life where she lived on a place called Paradise Island, was made out of clay, and was a superhero. Anyway, he takes her on a magical mystery tour throughout all of her past lives to show her that she is indeed the Wonder Woman. Like the Wolverine, the Batman, the Wonder Woman.
At any point, does she ever marry a comic book store owner?
No, she never marries a comic book store owner.
All right.
This is nothing but a load of metaphysical claptrap in order to line this book up with the David E. Kelly series next fall. By the time next fall comes around, this book is going to be so in lockstep with that series, it's not even going to be funny. I hope that God it lasts longer than the Bionic Woman's relaunch did, because otherwise this is a huge waste of everyone's time. What you know what you take away from this? Reality is whatever the hell you want it to be in comics.
That's
What is it
ultimate
this
reality.
week? Whatever we want it to be. And also this week from DC, Green Lantern Emerald Warriors number 8, War of the Lanterns Part 3, written by Peter J. Tomasi, the regular writer on the book, drawn by Fernando Parisi. Guy and Kilowog are the only 2 unpossessed lanterns in the universe that we know of, outside of course, Hal and 1 or 2 others that we've already seen. Kilowog lets himself to be captured so Guy can get away. Guy goes to the greenhouse, which is an ice planet that him and Hal set up a long time ago, in case something horrible like this ever happened, and it was just the 2 of them. Where do we go that only we know about? We'll call it the greenhouse. So they go there, and I don't know why it's called the greenhouse. Oh, it's a play on words. Greenhouse, it's an ice planet. Get it? It's a backwards thing. Anyway, they meet at the greenhouse, and they have, of course, what do the 2 of them have when they get together? A pointless fight. A pointless 8-page fight about who's going to save the Green Lantern. No, they're not possessed. They're just jerks. They have a fight for about 8 pages until they realize that they have to team up to stop Parallax. And the only way they can do that is as Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner, not as Green Lanterns. Like I said, 3rd part in the series, and it wasn't bad. Also this week, coming from DC, Nick Spencer, Jimmy Olsen run finally wraps up with this issue. This is a little pricey. It's $5.99, but damn good read. It's entertaining as hell. This reprints all the Action Comics backups. Plus, you've got the new stuff in there that never saw print because Action Comics went to $2.99 at a lower page count. It's all in here in one package. This is a damn good read. I know if most of you don't like Jimmy Olsen, you go, Jimmy Olsen? This is actually pretty cool.
Hey,
You
man,
should
it's
pick
Nick
it up.
Spencer.
Nick Spencer, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Nick Spencer.
That's what you got. If you don't like the character, you gotta like the guy who wrote it.
Speaking of wrapping up, the Jim Gordon storyline that was in the backup in Detective is wrapping up with this, and I think the next issue of Detective Comics 875 is shipped this week. This is well worth reading also. This is a fine little read. And also, Jack Fable's 50 ship. This is the last issue of the Jack of Fable series. It is wrapped up. It is finished. It is done. It is out of here. He is hitchhiking his way out of our lives. Before I get out of this section, let me remind you, DC Comics shipped 16 books this week, which is why DC came in second. Third place was Indie Comics. We had 65 Indie Comics that shipped, or 71 Indie Comics that shipped this week. The ones that I'm going to talk about of note, Godzilla in 2 delightful covers. One by Alex Ross, and this one by Mr. Goon artist. I can't remember his name right now, but he's the writer, Eric Powell.
That's it.
Eric Powell. There, how about that? This ship this week, this is a brand new Godzilla. It has no title. Like I said, Eric Powell wrote it with Tracy Marsh. Phil Hester is the interior artist on this. You have got to be blank kidding me. That is the tagline throughout this whole thing. This thing starts off with 2 little Japanese kids playing on the beach, and one kid says, I wish I had a monster because I can't stand you, and my monster would be my pal, and he'd step on your head, and then everything would be great. We'd ride around together. Next thing you know, Godzilla shows up and kills them both. Then we go to a small Japanese fishing village. Well, he sort of eats them. Then we go to a small Japanese fishing village where they're going about their daily job, and guess who shows up? To smash the village. Then we cut to Tokyo, okay, and you got a bunch of scientists working on the Godzilla problem. Oh, well, we know how to stop Godzilla. We know how, and they shoot a bunch of rockets at him with the thing that's going to stop him, and no, it doesn't stop him. It just pisses him off. Oh, and finally we wind up in the Oval Office with Barack Obama. Swear to God, Barack Obama, who says, you have got to be blank kidding me. It's what everybody says in this book. You've got to be blank kidding me, which is a great tag to run through this entire book. There is not a lot of storyline in this book. This is mostly pictures. It's mostly unwritten pictures, but this is a damn fine little book. It really is. All of Godzilla's touchstones are hit, and if you like Godzilla at all, pick this up. This is a great little book. Also shipping this week was Caligula, #1 from Avatar. Avatar is trying to catch magic in the bottle again with what they did with Cross. They're trying to catch the same magic here with Caligula. Why would they try it with Caligula? Well, Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus Caligula is one of the craziest SOBs to ever walk the face of the earth. And like I said, they're trying hard to outdo what they did in Cross, but this just doesn't do it. It's written by David Lapham, the guy who's making all of his bones on Cross as the writer. Drawn by Jermaine Noble. This is a fully painted book, and Jermaine needs to go back and do a little bit of more work on his painting, because his painting ain't all that spectacular in this thing. That and the writing give you a whole bunch of the debauchery of terror of ancient Rome. It's all there. The rapes, the beheadings, the tortures, all the fun stuff is there that you would expect. But you know what? After reading this thing, I just thought the whole piece was incredibly uninspired. The art is just okay. And at the end of this thing, apparently Caligula is supernatural. This isn't the Caligula we know. It is, but it is. This must take place on a parallel Earth. Anyway, Caligula is supernatural at the end of this thing. I'm not going to give it away. You got to buy it. But Caligula is supernatural at the end of this thing. He is something. I don't know. But
same thing happened to Dracula, right? Through all his debauchery.
Actually, he's a lot like Dracula in that thing.
Became immortal.
He doesn't get. I will tell you, he does not get a stake through the heart.
Oh.
But he is supernatural in that same sort of respect. Also this week, Undying Love #1, shipped from Image. This is written by Tom Coker and Dan Friedman, with art by Tom Coker, the man who wrote it. What is this? This is the story of a boy meets girl. Boy falls in love with a girl, but the girl's a vampire, so the boy heads off to a strange foreign land to kill the vampire that made her, setting up for them to both have a happily ever after ending. This is a moody little art piece, and I really enjoyed the hell out of this. This is a fun little vampire story. You've got an American ass-kicking Punisher type, and he goes to the Far East to try to save his vampire girlfriend, who doesn't want to be a vampire. She wants to be saved, and they run into a little Chinese kid who is old beyond his years and wise beyond his age, and who smokes cigarettes like a fiend. It basically tells them everything they need to do to set you up for the next issue. This has got a really wonderful color palette. The first section is gray, second section of the book is maroon, third section is yellow. All works really well together. I definitely think you ought to pick this book up. Also shipping this week, IndieWise. Our book of the week was Dollhouse from Dark Horse, $3.50 cover price. This book was $2.10 all week long, 40% off here at Alternate Reality. As Jeffy pointed out, this is not the end of the series.
Don't call it Epitaph.
It's called Epitaph. If you watch the Dollhouse original series on TV, they sort of wrapped it up, and this was supposed to put the capper on it. It does, and then it leads you to a whole new chapter so we can continue doing stories. Who would have thought? Anyway, that shipped this week from Image. Booker Baker, Righteous Maker shipped this out this week. Image shipped this out this week. I started flipping through this, and when you got to the point where door knockers were made out of rubber penises, door handles were made out of rubber penises, I said, yeah, okay, I know where this is going. Elephant Man, I'm showing this week because this book took off this week. I don't order a lot of Elephant Men, but everything I had sold out before noon, and then I had people coming in and buying up chunks of my back issues on Elephant Man. There's something going on with this issue. I'm not sure what it is. I've never been a big Elephant Man fan, but all of a sudden this book is catching fire, and I had people coming in and buying like the last 7, 8, 9, 10 issues in a chunk and heading out the door with it. So you may want to be on the lookout for this.
You never know.
Our good friends over at Blue Water did just a whole bunch of fine biography books this week, including Angelina Jolie and Her Lips. Oh, Black Eyed Peas and whoever this chick is.
That's Fergie.
And the biography of Richard
Nixon.
Nixon.
His lips.
And his lips. Which used to bleed a lot on TV, as I remember. Meanwhile, over at Antarctic, Fail of the Dead. I've talked before about previous Antarctic efforts over the last couple of weeks. This is more of the same. If you've watched the last couple of weekend reviews, you know what I've said about those. This is more of the same. I am not going to take this out back and hit it with a stick, but everything I've said about other stuff, like the Sarah Palin book and the other Dead book that I talked about last week, applies to this. And finally, Pinpoint came from BDI, Big Dog Inks. I haven't read this book yet, but this looks an awful lot like Image from the early 90s. So if you can't wait for a trip back to the early 90s with Image, here you go.
Muscles and weapons.
Before we get out of here, I want to go over the Comic Book Man's cover of the week. 2 covers this week.
2.
You've seen them already. Oh, it's these.
Oh,
it's
look
these.
at you.
I loves me Godzilla. But stay with me, Jeff.
I got it.
This one is even better because
It does.
it does this. Look at that.
Is that Rodan Mothra? In the back?
Yeah, it's like Rodan and Mothra are there in his larval stage.
Yes.
In the larval stage.
It's got a little teeth there.
Name of the book is Godzilla, Kingdom of the Monsters, plural. This isn't going to be just a Godzilla book. This is going to be a Godzilla and Mothra and King Rodan and Ghidra and everybody together book. So those are the covers of the week. And that's it. We're done. We're finished. We're out of here. We got no more Shipshape Week in Review. But you can go to the store's website and check out all the previous weekend reviews we've done. And where's the store's website at? Sarah.
You know the usual. www.myalternatereality.com.
Go to the store's website, check it all out. Until next time, this is Comic Book Man saying, I'm going to do some shop talk.
The Video Outhouse is brought to you by some of the finest people willing to work for free. This is a list of some of them.